The recent FDA approval of GSK's new antibiotic, Blujepa, for treating urinary tract infections, UTIs, in women and adolescent girls may seem like a breakthrough, but beneath the surface, it raises serious concerns about public health, antibiotic resistance, and pharmaceutical industry motives. While GSK touts the drug as a revolutionary treatment designed to combat antibiotic-resistant bacteria, the long-term risks and ethical implications of its approval demand closer scrutiny. The rush to introduce new antibiotics often overlooks the dangerous pattern of overuse and the potential for worsening the very problem they claim to solve. One of the most immediate concerns is the real-world effectiveness of Blujepa compared to existing treatments. GSK's clinical trials claim that the drug achieved complete disease resolution in 58.5% of patients, a modest improvement over the 43.6% success rate of nitrofurantoin, a drug that has been used since the 1950s. But a closer look at these numbers reveals a sobering truth. Nearly half of those treated with Blujepa did not achieve full resolution of their infection. The incremental benefit raises questions about whether this new drug is truly a game-changer or simply an expensive alternative with aggressive marketing behind it. More troubling is the growing concern over antimicrobial resistance. GSK asserts that Blujepa's mechanism of action makes it less likely for bacteria to develop resistance, but history suggests otherwise. Each time a new antibiotic enters the market, it is only a matter of time before bacteria find a way to survive it. The pharmaceutical industry has repeatedly introduced next-generation antibiotics, only to watch them become ineffective within a few years due to overuse and improper prescribing practices. The claim that Blujepa's action makes resistance less likely is optimistic at best and dangerously misleading at worst. If overprescription follows the same patterns as previous antibiotics, Blujepa could contribute to the very crisis it aims to alleviate. GSK's financial motivations also cast doubt on whether this approval is driven by public health needs or corporate profits. The company has been scrambling to offset revenue losses from expiring patents on blockbuster drugs, particularly in the HIV treatment market. The push to introduce new drugs, regardless of necessity, often prioritizes financial gain over medical necessity. With GSK projecting billions in peak sales for Blujepa and other new treatments, it is difficult to ignore the underlying profit-driven agenda. When companies stand to make billions from public health crises, their incentives to truly solve them become questionable. Adding to the ethical concerns is the fact that Blujepa's development was partially funded by U.S. government grants. Taxpayers have helped finance the research and development of this drug, yet they will likely see no benefit when it comes to pricing. GSK has remained silent on how much Blujepa will cost, which raises the likelihood that it will be priced at a premium, further burdening patients and insurance systems. The pharmaceutical industry has a long track record of exploiting government-funded research for private profit, and this case appears to be no different. The FDA's approval of Blujepa also highlights the agency's growing tendency to greenlight drugs based on limited or rushed evidence. The urgency to combat antibiotic-resistant infections is real, but it should not come at the expense of rigorous evaluation. When regulatory agencies fast-track approvals, there is a greater risk of unintended consequences, including side effects, drug failures, and the potential for widespread resistance. If Blujepa is misused or proves less effective than claimed, it could lead to more resistant bacterial strains, worsening an already dire situation. The global implications of this decision should not be ignored. The United States is not the only country struggling with antibiotic resistance, and the widespread adoption of Blujepa could set a dangerous precedent. If developing nations with weaker regulatory oversight begin to use the drug irresponsibly, resistance could develop even faster, potentially rendering the drug ineffective within a few years. The introduction of any new antibiotic should come with strict usage guidelines, yet history has shown that enforcement is inconsistent at best. Ultimately, the approval of Blujepa raises more alarms than celebrations. While the pharmaceutical industry hails each new antibiotic as a victory, the broader trends suggest a cycle of temporary fixes rather than sustainable solutions. Without proper oversight and a commitment to responsible prescribing practices, Blujepa could become yet another short-lived remedy in the ongoing war against bacterial infections. The reality is that antibiotic resistance is not just a scientific challenge, but a systemic failure in how we approach medicine, regulation, and corporate influence. If history repeats itself, this so-called breakthrough may soon become part of the growing list of once promising drugs that ultimately worsen the problem they were meant to solve.